Thank you. So, Ms. Conant, you have 5 minutes. Cronus, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You hear today, diversification has been the topic of the day. Can you share with us the important work that the Canada Wood Group does on the ground in Japan, and how maintaining that kind of in-market presence is important for Canada?
Yeah, thank you. And Harmac Pacific and the NIMO, an employee-owned mill, proudly employee-owned, and an important mill in our ecosystem. And I think there's a difference that the Canada Wood Group, the pulp sector, has a bit of an easier path in terms of its ability to tap into foreign markets. In wood, it is that involved process. So having the boots on the ground there so that we can work with architects and engineers in Japan, work with governments and building code officials. It took us 20 years to get OSB or Orient Strand Board into Japan because it's the steps to get it operationalized and into the system. On seismic, a mid-ply wall systems took us 10 years. That's for seismic strength and whatnot. So we did have a reduction in funding. Our hope is that funding is going to be more than restored, and that will be critical because once you come out, you need to stay in and you need to continue to invest, in our case, for the long run.
For that, and of course we are incredibly proud of Harmac in our community. Given the current challenges with the U.S. market, how much mitigation can Japan really provide, and how important is it for Canada and for Canadian lumber producers, for the people that are part of your association, for Canada to get a deal with the United States?
It's an important incremental opportunity. I don't want to give the illusion that it's $800 million a year on the lumber side versus $8 billion to the U.S. on the lumber side. But if we can get a few $100 million more to Japan, that's important as one of the many measures we're taking to try to minimize the risk. That said, because of the cost of shipping, the close proximity, there are natural relationships. And I think the other thing that's often not talked about is the quality of Canadian-grown wood. Because of our colder temperatures, our longer growing cycles, that brings about properties of wood that U.S. home builders want to frame homes with. They prefer to use spruce, pine, and fir over southern yellow pine. So there's a natural advantage in the marketplace right now. There's a natural advantage in the marketplace for Canada. The challenge is at 45%, we're still selling. The difference, I would say, between 06, 07, 08, 09, that downturn, markets absolutely collapsed then. Like housing starts were 600,000 in the U.S. They're at 1.3 million now. So it's just soft. It's been soft for 3 years. Tariffs and duties at 45%, ongoing uncertainty is just not good for our business.
And just before I turn back, do you get regular updates from the Canadian government on those negotiations? Like, do you have a good window into where we're headed?
Yeah, I think there are elements, of course, we're not going to be privy to, but in terms of asking what might work for you, those conversations have been ongoing, yes.
And just turning back to the Japanese relationship and our more global efforts at diversification, I understand that the Canada Wood Group has had its had its federal funding reduced over the last few years. How is that keeping pace with our competitors? Like our competitors, as we look towards diversification, are they investing more in these relationships, and how are we doing at keeping up?
Yeah, they are, and Japan is doing more domestically as well. So the threat is from inside the house in Japan. In terms of our competitive threats in the marketplace, we had pretty consistently from 2019 to 2023 funding between $5 and $8.7 million. In 23-24, that was cut to $4,000. But I think there's an admission now that was a mistake. Mm-hmm. But because of that reduction in 23-24, we had to lay off a bunch of staff, and we lost some time. That's why, Canada Wood Group is looking for $5 million at least over the next 3 years, which I don't think is exorbitant, because they actually need to scale back up.
And just in terms of as we move forward on this, if Canada does fail to act on this file, who stands to benefit from that, and how quickly could we lose market share around that, and also just getting into the mix and the changing relationship with China? Can you comment on how the Japanese feel about that?
20 secondes environ.
Oh, wait, okay.
About 20 seconds remaining.
times the size of the market for us right now. We've lost a lot of market share in China because of Russian wood. They're now buying Russian wood. You know, Japan's different in that it's committed to high value, and that's where our opportunity is.
Alors, Monsieur Fonseca.
Mr.